Hello students, welcome to Oliveboard. I welcome all of you to our weekly session that is around how to use weekly current affairs that you read for your examination for answer writing purpose, right? So please confirm if everything is audible and visible. All right, so welcome again students. So what we are trying to do here, we have taken one class last Wednesday at 9 p.m. wherein we tried to discuss how we can simultaneously tackle twin objectives of answer writing, that is descriptive answer writing in second phase of the examination of RBI, and then how do we keep revising our current affairs in a way that facilitates our revision as well as our aptitude for answer writing, right? We have taken three questions in the last class. Today also we are taking three questions, and let me emphasize that uh, in these classes, it is not particularly important to focus on content. Of course, content is important, and we are going to discuss anything through specific examples only. But I want you to understand this fact that the primary focus of these sessions that I'm taking every week is not revision of current affair per se, but to make sure that we develop an answer writing capacity. And let me quickly revise what we have discussed in the last class also in terms of answer writing strategy. That uh, it is important to read the question carefully, and the very important step after reading the question is decoding what is the demand of the question. What has generally been observed in the attitude of students is that they read the keyword and start writing whatever they know about the topic and whatever they feel like. But given the limitation of space, word, and time, everything it is limited in the examination period, right? You don't have enough words, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough space to write whatever you want. So, it is neither desirable nor is it possible to write everything that you know. So, it is important that you read the question very carefully. You see what is the precise demand of the question. Now, let me tell you there are two things that you should understand. That one is explicit demand of the question, right? And another is implicit demand of the question. What we mean by explicit demand of the question, explicit means it is apparent, it is very clear, it is visible. When you read the question, you will understand that okay, this thing is demanded. For instance, what do you mean by unemployment rate? So you know the question is asking you to write the definition of unemployment rate, but I had also told you in the last session that towards the end of your answer, you should write some positive measures or way forward also, even if it is not specifically asked in the examination. Now, that we call implicit demand of the question. Implicit means that thing which is expected but not asked for. It is not categorically asked in the question that suggest remedial measures or suggest ways to improve upon employment situation in India, but it is good, it is advisable if you write a couple of measures towards the end of your answer. Now, I hope you understand the basic distinction between what is implicit and what is explicit demand of the question. So now we'll move ahead with our discussion today. And as we discuss the content and read the question, we'll keep discussing the strategies of answer writing better. So yeah, before we move ahead, since we are only beginning this series, I would like to again remind all of you what you can uh, expect to take away from these sessions. What are the series offerings technically? So of course it's going to be live classes. We are going to take these live classes on YouTube every week on Wednesday 8 p.m. And we can also increase the number of classes in the future if it is required, right? And second, as we discuss n number of questions every day, let's say 3 questions every day, we'll try to make sure that we cover and touch upon the major debates or the major uh, topics that are there in the current affairs, right? Economic and social issues and finance and management. Because if we cover from the rate of 3 questions per week, we have enough time, right, to touch upon important issues, right? Third, it is important to understand and for you to utilize the third point, that is doubt clearing. As we are live, we have the chat box open. You can comment, and I would encourage all of you to do a couple of things with me. You can write something if you want to suggest something, you want to ask some clarification, or you can answer my questions online. So if you engage with the classes, this session of let's say 45 minutes, 50 minutes will be more productive, will be more engaging for both of us, right? So we will keep the examination in the center, that we are going to together crack this examination, and whatever we discuss, whatever answer writing practices that we do, it is all going to be tuned with the demands of the examination. So before we move ahead, yeah, so I think a lot of students are there online, so can we move ahead, students? Please comment. Is everything clear? We can move ahead. Anything you want to say? I can see Ravi Shankar Singh, Ashutosh, Priya, Eva. All right, all right. Thank you so much, students. We'll move ahead. Right. So the first question that we will take up today is related to unemployment rate. What do you mean by unemployment rate? How does the agricultural cycle influence it? Right. So as you can see, the moment I opened the question, I started highlighting some keywords. Right. So this is the first step you should do when you read any question. Make it a habit forever, that as you read the question, make sure that you underline the demand words and the keywords. What are the concept that is getting involved in the question, and what are the demand words? What is demand word? This is the demand word. What do you mean, and how does the agricultural cycle influence it? So I deliberately give two parts of the question so that we can have a good discussion around the topic. So first part is very straightforward. It is clear that what do you mean by unemployment rate. So you have to write the definition of it, right? What do you mean by unemployment rate? So when you discuss what is unemployment rate, talk about labor force participation rate, right? Suppose we have 100 people in the economy, and it is not necessary that all of them are looking for employment or all of them are legible for employment. They may not be legally suitable, their age may not be appropriate, they may not be health wise competent, they may not be skilled. So first of all, you figure out what percentage of population is interested to find employment. That is labor force participation rate. And out of that, that component which is employed is employment rate, and that percentage which is not employed falls into the segment of unemployment rate. So you write that what is to start with, you can write labor force participation rate. You can also write what is uh, employment rate, what is unemployment rate, and also one thing is very important, that don't write only in words. Explain things in paragraph for sure, but make sure that wherever it is possible, अब जहां नहीं है, where there you cannot add an equation, but wherever it is possible, you should write some uh, equation, algebraic expression. So for unemployment rate, there is an algebraic formula that you can write in your answer sheet, right? So write that, and then make it a habit, make it a habit that don't write any data without citing the source. Suppose you write that unemployment rate in the rural India is increasing from 6.5 percentage to 7.7%. It may be a correct data, no doubt about that. You are reading current affairs, so you can, of course, write the exact data, but it is again advisable. Understand what you can do to enrich your answer. Everything will not be explicitly asked for. For instance, question will never ask what has CMIE said on unemployment rate. It is for you to write that CMIE in its recent report of October or November has said this. So what is CMIE? Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy. It is a reputed institution which comes up with uh, macroeconomic indicators pertaining to Indian economy. So write that, and you can also say Finance Ministry has written it, or World Bank has given this data, or CMIE is coming out with data, or PRS Legislative had said this. Depending on the topic, cite some authoritative source, right? So somebody is asking, we can use data given by ILO or some other organization. Definitely, Bruce, you can do that. That's what I'm trying to say. That wherever you find it suitable, you can write the source of your data. That will enrich. The evaluator will understand that you are well versed with the topic. Right? So do that. Also, one thing that I want to tell you that bring out a comparative kind of data. It is always good. What do you mean by comparative data? Suppose you write that unemployment rate presently is 7.7%. But nobody will understand whether is it good sign or a bad sign. But if you write that in the financial year 2021-22, in the month of November, this was the data, then you can show that it has increased or decreased, right? So that is what I mean when I say you should add a comparative figure. एक कंपैरिजन आपके डेटा से निकल के सामने आए that economy is doing good or it is doing bad, so you can do that, and if you are doing that, it is a good kind of answer writing, right? So having done all this, you come to the second part of the question, that is how does the agriculture cycle influence it, how does the agriculture cycle influence it. So it is imperative that you change the paragraph here, right? So first part you write in one paragraph, you add one algebraic equation, you name the body, you add the data, and very importantly, before you write any paragraph, try always to give a suitable heading. How does that heading help? If you provide a heading to your answer, the evaluator will clearly understand what he is going to read ahead. So the mantra that I am trying to give you in the last session also is that make the evaluation process easier. If you write in a haphazard manner, if you write in a clumsy way, if I have to read through your answer intensely and see what you are trying to say, and then it is not very clearly apparent, then it means that you are increasing my effort to read. And the moment evaluator has to focus on your answer, your marks will be cut. That's what I'm trying to tell you, the psychology of an evaluator. Try always to make the evaluation very easy for the evaluator. Write in such a way that things are very clearly, transparently visible. Right? So provide a heading, write in a small paragraph, underline important data, facts, figures, right? Write with sources, write algebraic equation. Since it is economy, add data for sure, right? Come to the second part now. How does the agriculture cycle influence it? Give a suitable heading, that agriculture cycle in India, underline it, and then write about Kharif and Rabi season. And you can also add that there is a small period of Zaid season somewhere in India, at some places only, before between Kharif and Rabi season. You can also write the broader stretch of the months. From which month to which month is the Kharif season there, and then Rabi season respectively. Also, you can write about the major crops that are cultivated respectively in Kharif and Rabi season. So here you have explained the agricultural cycle in this paragraph. Then comes the third part, right? Then comes the third part. where you write that link between agriculture cycle and unemployment. So you know that agriculture cycle in India is confined around monsoon, right? So it is dependent heavily on monsoon as of now. The infrastructural development in terms of irrigation is not that much. So our agriculture is surrounded by the significance of monsoon. You see in newspaper that politicians, economists keep a track of what is the going to be the performance of monsoon in a particular year. If monsoon is weaker, they will predict that there will be an impact on agricultural growth and subsequently Indian economy, right? Inflation, employment, etc. So then try to link in third part, since agriculture is the major sector of Indian economy in terms of population absorption, not in terms of contribution to GDP. You can write agriculture contributes only this much percentage to Indian economy, but employs this much percentage of population. Now, students, this is the time for your quiz. Write in the chat box how much percentage of GDP is contributed by agriculture and what percentage of labor force is absorbed by agriculture. Please write the two figures. Please look at the chat box and answer this question. How much percentage of, yeah, gross value addition of 18.8%, Ravi Shankar is saying. What about others? And what percentage of population is absorbed by agriculture? Write about population dependent on agriculture. All right, so check it out. What percentage of Indian population depends on agriculture for its survival? You will see there is a discrepancy. Around 50% of India, 60% in agriculture and allied activities. Good. Make sure the data is updated also with time. So you see that there is disguised kind of unemployment. Disguised unemployment. It is not visible. बट जो काम 5 आदमी मिलकर कर सकते हैं वहां अगर 15 लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं तो इसका मतलब है कि वहां पर 10 लोग जो है वो डिसगाइज्ड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है, एक छुपे हुए तरीके से हिडन फॉर्म ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है वहां पर. ठीक है. सो राइट अबाउट दैट परसेंटेज ऑफ GDP contributed by agriculture, population dependence, and then write that since it is the end of the Kharif season, so you will see, or Rabi season, you will see that there is a dip in the rural unemployment. So yeah, so Bruce is saying according to FAO, almost 70% of rural households are dependent on agriculture for their employment. So you cite the sources, whatever sources are there. Estimations of different sources can be there, can be different, slightly different, right? But that's why I was trying to say that whenever you cite a figure, cite also the source to make sure that you are not penalized unnecessarily. So coming back to our discussion, write about the movement of agriculture cycle and then write that it is in tune with the agriculture cycle that labor force participation in the economy changes. And that's why when we see that a certain agriculture cycle is coming to a closure, unemployment in the rural sector is on the rise. Why it is on the rise? Because agriculture के अलावा there are not much options to diversify the employment. अगर वहां पर स्कोप होता कि वो एग्रीकल्चर से बाहर आकर के और किसी सेक्टर में जा सकते हैं तो वो एब्जॉर्ब हो जाते, वो पॉसिबिलिटी थोड़ी सी कम हो जाती है. So that is the main sum and substance of your answer. Then you can, as I said, अब यहाँ पर ये पूछा नहीं गया, it is not categorically asked what is the remedial measure, but I would advise you, all of you, that you write a couple of steps that can be taken by the government, by the other actors of the economy also, so that this dip in the employment of people can be tackled. You can say that we can focus on food and processing industries. You can talk about the rise in the service sector. You can write about human capital formation through health and education, so that more diversification of economy can be there. You can write about some steps if government has taken it already, so that the pressure on agriculture can be decreased. So make sure that your suggestions has two components. One, where the government has already taken some step. It is good to write that. The government is focusing on, let's say, rural lending. It is focusing on self-employment. So these kind of things you can write, and then you can write some suggestions from your own side. Okay, right. So we can move ahead now. The next topic that we discuss here is fertilizer subsidy. It is a very, very important topic. Whatever exam you are going to undertake, you will find that there will be questions on agriculture. Yeah, right. Microfinance loans, self-help groups, Kisan credit card, National Rural Livelihood Mission, etc. Yeah, so you can write what steps have been taken. So when we talk about fertilizer subsidy, yeah. So the question that we have formed here is, what do you mean by NBS mechanism or NBS scheme? Discuss the rise in subsidy on fertilizer and probe causes for the same. Right? Now you see that we have a certain specific jargon, that is NBS mechanism. So it is important that you write about that. You write about rise in subsidy and probe causes. There are three major subcomponents of the question. Don't get lost while reading the question. I insist, don't lose track of what is the demand of the question while reading it. Underline the keywords. So पहला डिमांड है क्वेश्चन का, what do you mean by NBS mechanism? So एक चीज तो आपको ये एड्रेस करनी है. दूसरा, डिस्कस द राइज इन सब्सिडी ऑन फर्टिलाइजर्स. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि there must have been a rise in the kind of subsidy, amount of subsidy that the government is providing to farmers for fertilizers. And third, there must be some causes for the same, why there is a rise in subsidy. And of course, these are three explicit demands. And what I had suggested all of you, implicit demand क्या होगा, इसमें क्या किया जाए, कैसे एग्रीकल्चर की सब्सिडी को कम किया जाए. चौथा पार्ट वो हो सकता है which is not specifically demanded in the question, but you can write for your own good, right? So start with a brief introduction that in 1960s India witnessed green revolution, and because of that it was such a assemblage of factors that you had to provide certain kind of seeds, and if those seeds had to be cultivated, you also had to provide some kind of chemical fertilizers, and you had to support it through different kind of irrigation mechanisms. So ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन का मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं था कि आप हाई यील्डिंग वैरायटी ऑफ सीड्स लगा दें. वो एक पूरा का पूरा पैराफर्नेलिया था, एक पूरा का पूरा पैकेज था, जिसके बाद ही आप बम्पर क्रॉप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं. सो जैसे ही ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन आता है, हमारे यहाँ केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर्स की एंट्री होती है बड़े स्केल पर. तो उसके बाद हम देखते हैं दैट it has been, I think, 60 years almost, and you know now that there has been ecological ramifications of green revolution in Punjab and Haryana because of excessive use of fertilizers, right? So at some point of time, government realized that initially it had to boost the economy. You know the political circumstances, I hope, in which green revolution came in India. We were dependent on import of food grains, PL 480, Public Law 480 from US. और हमारी स्थिति इतनी खराब हो गई थी कि US could starve India to death. You know the circumstances. If you don't know, read about Indira Gandhi's decisions around Green Revolution, how she tried to make India self-sufficient in terms of food grains, Lal Bahadur Shastri and Indira Gandhi. So in that context, it was important to support the farmers. And how do you support the farmers? इतना cost वो bear नहीं कर सकते because innovation has a price. So if you are going to use HYV seeds, or you are going to use chemical fertilizers, or you are going to encourage irrigation through pump sets, it demands rise in input cost, right? But government will have to deal with that. So how does it deal? It provides income support. It provides input subsidy, that okay, if the cost of fertilizers is 100 rupees per bag, you won't be able to afford it, so let us pay 50 rupees, you pay 50 rupees. This is the broad idea of subsidy, that government is paying for you, right? So it started paying for these kind of subsidy, but it had a overwhelming cost. उसका जो public exchequer पर load होता है वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया. And then you link it with uh, LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization in 1985 onwards. Although we say 1991 में reforms आया, but you know that the trend started in the 1980s itself under Rajiv Gandhi government, right? So 1991 के आसपास जाकर के डिकंट्रोल कर दिया गया काफी सारी चीजों को, लेकिन कुछ फर्टिलाइजर्स को फिर भी कंट्रोल में रखा गया उनकी प्राइस को, because a poor population of farmers was dependent on it. Fast forward the debate, come to 2010 when potassium and phosphorus based fertilizers were decontrolled and a nutrient based subsidy regime came. So whatever I have discussed, we have discussed for general clarity, but don't write all this. Just write about green revolution and use of fertilizers, and then write that subsidy price increased a lot. In 2010, India decontrolled the fertilizer cost of potassium and phosphorus and introduced a new sorry nutrient based subsidy regime. अब यहाँ पर दो लाइन में you have to explain what is it very simply, and it should be clear to a lay reader. आप इस तरह से लिखिए कि NBS क्या है उसको समझ में आ जाए. एग्जाम्पल भी यूज कर सकते हैं. wherever you have to explicate something, you can write depending on the component of each nutrient, whatever macronutrient the soil requires in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. You can write कि उनका परसेंटेज जितना होगा उस हिसाब से गवर्नमेंट उस मिक्सचर को सब्सिडाइज करेगी. We have diammonium phosphate, we have NPK in different proportions. Globally accepted ratio of NPK is 4:2:1, but India में नाइट्रोजन का इस्तेमाल धड़ल्ले से होता है. 8.2:2:1 के रेशियो में अभी हमारा एस्टिमेशन जा रहा है. सो यहाँ पर क्या रीजन है? तो रीजन ये है कि यूरिया एनबीएस के अंदर नहीं आता है. यूरिया अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा हेवीली सब्सिडाइज्ड है. सो इस वजह से क्या होता है कि यूरिया का खपत इंडिया में डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेट है, राइट? जितना होना चाहिए साइंटिफिक स्टैंडर्ड के हिसाब से उससे कहीं ज्यादा है, राइट? सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द पिटफॉल्स ऑफ एनबीएस स्कीम. यू डोंट इंक्लूड यूरिया इन एनबीएस, दैट मेक्स customers go for urea because it is heavily subsidized as compared to other P and K fertilizers, right? So write that. Now come the second part. Discuss the rise in subsidy on fertilizers and probe cause for the same. आखिर क्यों हमारा कॉस्ट जो है वो बढ़ रहा है? So I would encourage students to write a couple of factors जिसकी वजह से हमारा सब्सिडी बढ़ रहा है. Please students write in the comment box. Students, you should write in the comment box. Yeah. So somebody is writing Russia-Ukraine conflict, standardization of dollar, high import cost. All right. Good. So we see that पहले तो ये आपको लिखना पड़ेगा कि the large part of whatever goes into the production of fertilizers is imported. हम बाहर से मंगाते हैं वो चीजें. And in the last class we had discussed current account deficit and balance of payment concepts like that. So depending on our pockets, foreign exchange reserves, the fluctuations in the global economy, commodity market, उस पर डिपेंड करता है हमारा इंपोर्ट कॉस्ट, राइट? So you know that the standard currency of trade in the international market is dollars. ठीक है? So it depends on the purchasing power of your currency also. अगर आपकी करेंसी कमजोर हो गई है, it means इसकी purchasing power कम है. So to the purchase the same amount of commodity from the international market, you have to pay more in terms of rupee. So if you pay more, it means government is going to increase the investment in subsidy. ठीक है? So you see that in the last couple of months, बहुत ज़्यादा news में रहा है ये चीज़ that Nirmala Sitharaman has to come again and again and explain and defend why rupee is decreasing its strength with respect to dollars, right? तो एक तो वो कारण है सबसे पहले ये कि our dependence on import is overwhelming, and second, one of the major components of production of fertilizers is piped gas. Natural gas का उसमें बहुत ज्यादा इस्तेमाल होता है. So don't simply write Russia-Ukraine conflict. It is not very clear. Write step by step. First write the constituents or ingredient of fertilizer production, that is gas. Then write that this gas has to be procured from outside, and then write that this gas is found in certain geographical locations like Russia. ठीक है? Then it makes sense to write that there is Russia-Ukraine conflict और इस वजह से इकोनॉमी पर असर पड़ता है. जहां पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी नहीं रहेगी वहां पर आप नहीं एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि स्मूथ फ्लो ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज होता रहे. सो इस वजह से क्या हुआ है, बहुत बार सैंक्शंस लगा दिए जाते हैं. यूरोप और अमेरिका बार बार थ्रेटन करते रहते हैं कि हम आप पर सैंक्शन लगा देंगे, आपका गैस कोई खरीदेगा नहीं. सो इफ इंडिया इज नॉट एबल टू परचेज गैस फ्रॉम रशिया, इट हैज टू प्रोक्योर इट फ्रॉम समवेयर एल्स, और वहां का कॉस्ट ज्यादा हो सकता है. तो इन सब डायनामिक्स की वजह से आपका फर्टिलाइजर का सब्सिडी बढ़ता है. ये तो ग्लोबल कॉज हो गए. उसके अलावा क्यों बढ़ता है? आर्टिफिशियल स्कार्सिटी. फर्टिलाइजर का ब्लैक मार्केटिंग बहुत ज्यादा होता है क्योंकि कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा है और सप्लाई बहुत कम है, तो मार्केट में शॉर्टेज होता है. इस शॉर्टेज का फायदा उठाते हैं जो सेलिंग पॉइंट पे लोग हैं. इनफैक्ट 250 रुपए का यूरिया 700-800 रुपए में बिहार में मिल रहा था लास्ट एग्रीकल्चर सीजन में. और इसमें करप्शन भी बहुत ज्यादा है, गवर्नमेंट भी इसमें जुड़ा हुआ है इस करप्शन में. तो आर्टिफिशियल स्कार्सिटी उसकी है. These fertilizers and urea are also diverted into other non-agricultural industries like plastic production. तो वहां पर वो चला जाता है सब्सिडाइज्ड फर्टिलाइजर अगर, तो यहाँ फिर आर्टिफिशियल स्कार्सिटी हो जाती है, इस वजह से प्राइस फिर से बढ़ जाता है. तो इन सब वजहों से क्या होता है कि हमारा ओवरऑल कॉस्ट जो है सब्सिडी ऑन फर्टिलाइजर पर वो बढ़ जाता है. सो इसमें ये सब लिख देंगे आप. इसके अलावा यू कैन राइट अबाउट recent data, as in what is the exact amount or exact figure about this, how much subsidy is being given. Or you can also write about ghost beneficiaries, you can write about leakage in the subsidy, etc. So that you can write, and of course at the end you can suggest some remedial measures. फिर से वही बात, पूछा नहीं गया लेकिन अगर लिखेंगे तो अच्छी बात होगी. आप उसमें लिखें कि government should make sure that it is not illegally diverted. There is neem coated urea. Why it is neem coated? एक तो एग्रीकल्चर में स्लोली रिलीज होगा फील्ड में. दूसरा, it cannot be used for some non-agricultural purposes. So its diversion will stop. So that is also a suggestion you can write. इसके अलावा You can write about soil health card scheme, under which government will facilitate the farmers to undertake a lab study of their soil, and they should exactly know कि आखिर उनके फार्म में किस तरह की डेफिशिएंसी है. ठीक है. Yeah, Ravi Shankar is very correct in writing this, specifically with respect to Bihar. Urea is also an important component of illegal alcohol market. True. So आप देखेंगे कितना कॉम्प्लेक्स है जिस पूरे इकोनॉमी जिस तरह से हमारी चलती है. सो इसमें आप लास्ट में लिखें कि इलीगल डाइवर्जन को रोका जाए, नीम कोटेड यूरिया को प्रमोट किया जाए, उसके अलावा सॉइल हेल्थ कार्ड के तहत more and more farmers should be tested, should be involved in testing their soil, and they should know what precise amount of fertilizer which chemical is required. Otherwise वो एक broad understanding के हिसाब से जो आसपास माहौल है उस हिसाब से बहुत ज्यादा यूरिया का इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Neither is it good for their crops nor is it good for the health of the soil, right? और एक्सचेकर पर प्रेशर तो पड़ता ही है, right? So that you should write to conclude your answer. Yeah, before we move to third question, any doubts, anything you want to comment, anything you want to say? Yeah, promotion of organic fertilizer is also there. True. Very nice. Suggestions are very good. I think all of us should learn from each other, whoever is watching this live session. So let's move to the third and last question. What is digital rupee? Discuss its significance. Again, a very contemporary topic. It has been in news on. Yeah, so we'll pause our discussion for a while. Bruce is asking it is a very nice question. Whenever we practice these questions, shall we make a kind of blueprint in pen and paper before writing? Bruce, I would suggest that during the preparation period, you should do this. I mean, whenever you attempt a question, you should use it, pen and paper, underline keywords, write at least a structure of the answer. That brainstorming should be there. If you do enough brainstorming, with time it will become your habit. For instance, I have been doing this exercise for last 7 8 years. So now I have cultivated this approach and attitude that whenever I read a question, I start underlining the keywords. How does it help? It helps me make sure that I write to the point. Second, I don't miss any demand of the question, because if you don't write and don't underline the keywords, it is probable that you will miss some demand of the question. क्योंकि एग्जाम के टाइम में there will be lack of time, right? Lack of space, lack of words. You will be in a tense mindset. So always make it a habit to underline keywords and write in paragraphs and change paragraphs accordingly. Sir, can we write way forward as heading of conclusion? Yes, you can write. Eva is correct. You can write way forward. Generally, you can write way forward, but it is advisable. It is better if you write a specific thread that you are going to discuss. For instance, steps to decrease fertilizer subsidy. That will be a better heading. Way forward is a generic heading. That is not wrong. But if you write remedial steps to decrease fertilizer subsidy, that is a better heading. All right. So third question, that is, what is digital rupee? Discuss its significance. So you know that it has been launched by RBI on 1st November. Central Bank Digital Currency is the full form of CBDC, and it was already declared in the presentation of budget by Nirmala Sitharaman in 2022 budget. So one thing to be remembered is that as of now, India is the first country to go into the wholesale segment. Now there are two segments, wholesale and retail. Wholesale is about transaction between the banks and RBI, banks and government, right? It is not for the common individual. right? So you write that क्या है, it's a pilot project. अभी 9 banks को choose किया गया है to run this pilot project. I have not written the names of it, but I hope that आपको वो नाम याद होने चाहिए. If possible, you can write in the examination name of some major banks जिनको pilot project में include किया गया है. Very importantly, you should distinguish it from cryptocurrency, right? Because it is in response to the problems created by cryptocurrency also that digital rupee is coming into the market. So cryptocurrency के साथ major problem क्या है, major strength क्या है? You should write that briefly, that ये जो इसके जो भी अच्छे फायदे हैं इनको इंक्लूड करते हुए गवर्नमेंट इसके फ्लॉज को हटा रही है. सबसे बड़ा फ्लॉ क्या है? इट इज नॉट सेंट्रली मॉनिटर्ड. कोई अथॉरिटी नहीं है, कोई एजेंसी नहीं है जो ओवरसाइट कर सके इस पे, राइट? सो डू दैट, explain the significance as well as pitfalls of cryptocurrency. टेरर फंडिंग है, मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग है, ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्राइम है जिसके लिए क्रिप्टो करेंसी का इस्तेमाल हो सकता है. गवर्नमेंट का कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है उसके ऊपर. उसके अलावा यू नो दैट इफ द करेंसी इज इन द हैंड ऑफ आरबीआई, इट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय आरबीआई. सो आपको पता होगा कि इट हैज टूल्स इन इट्स हैंड, रेपो रैट, रिवर्स रेपो रैट, and then you have cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio. So many tools are there so that RBI can monitor the amount of money in the economy और उस हिसाब से वो इन्वेस्टमेंट, ग्रोथ, इंटरेस्ट, इन्फ्लेशन, इस तरह के जो मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक इंडिकेटर्स है उसको कंट्रोल करती है. अब लेट से ज्यादा लोग अगर क्रिप्टो करेंसी पर शिफ्ट हो जाएंगे तो गवर्नमेंट के कंट्रोल में वो है नहीं. So abuse of money as well as control of macroeconomic indicators won't be possible by the government. सबसे बड़ा स्ट्रेंथ जो डिजिटल रूपी का है वही है. सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? इट इज डेफिनेटली प्रोवाइडिंग एडिशनल चॉइस फॉर पेमेंट्स. साथ ही साथ सारे जो बेनिफिट्स हैं जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी के, उसके साथ साथ गवर्नमेंट रेगुलेशन भी है, ओवरसाइट भी है, एफिशिएंट ट्रांजैक्शन है, ट्रांजैक्शन कॉस्ट कम होगा. सो दीज आर ऑल द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ इट. नाउ सिंस यहां पर आप क्या लिखेंगे, अब सवाल उठता है कि अंत में क्या लिखें. नाउ यू कैन राइट सम एप्रीहेंशंस. वे फॉरवर्ड तो आप इसमें कुछ बता नहीं सकते क्योंकि ये स्कीम अभी लॉन्च भी नहीं हुई ढंग से. तो आप यहां लिख सकते हैं कि इसको लेकर कुछ कंसर्न्स क्या है. जब आप इसके ऊपर न्यूज पढ़ेंगे या एडिटोरियल पढ़ेंगे, सो पीपल विल राइट व्हाट आर रोड ब्लॉक्स इन सक्सेसफुल एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ डिजिटल रूपी. क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकते हैं, क्या गवर्नमेंट के सामने चैलेंजेस हैं. इस तरह की चीजें आप कंक्लूसिव पैराग्राफ में लिख सकते हैं. साथ ही साथ यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट दैट इस पर क्या किया जाना चाहिए टू बेटर इंक्रीज इट्स एक्सेप्टेंस इन द इंडियन इकोनॉमी, राइट? सो दिस इज इट स्टूडेंट्स फ्रॉम माय एंड. We have discussed three topics. One is unemployment rate, one is fertilizer subsidy, and third is digital rupee. I think these are three very important topics for last week. आने वाले weeks में also we will discuss 3 or 4 important topics per session, and I have tried to make sure that हम content भी revise करें, थोड़ा थोड़ा background भी देखें, data भी देखें, थोड़ा theoretical discussion भी करें, और साथ ही साथ we should also try to learn do's and don'ts of answer writing. So I stop from my end here, and the ball is in your court now. Any suggestion, remarks? How do you like this initiative? Anything you want to suggest to me, please write down in the comment box. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you so much. Thank you, Priya. Any suggestions? Any improvisations? Thank you, Asutosh. All right, Priya. I will have a word with the management about PDF of the session. So we'll meet next week again, and uh, please share this video with fellow students. Yeah, Ravi is saying that we can get more students for healthy discussion. Yes, Ravi, वो possible है. आप इस session को बताएं लोगों को that Oliveboard has come up with this interesting kind of approach of mixing current affairs with answer writing. Nowhere else I think this is happening कि current affairs के साथ साथ आपको answer writing practice हो. So आप जितना ज़्यादा इसको और लोगों तक पहुंचाएं, share करें अपने friends के साथ. All right, Bruce. All right, Ashutosh. I'll make sure that I have a word about increasing the number of sessions and also demo answer. I'll try to post an image. Come back to the this channel and this comment box. Live chat तो खत्म हो जाते हैं शायद. जो normal chat होंगे, I will try to post image. जो structure जो मैंने बताया है demo answer का, that I will try to add. So इसको आप share करिए. अगर आप चाहते हैं कि बेहतर discussion हो और हम इसकी संख्या बढ़ा सकें, so that will be a privilege. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.